This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Telecom Reseller. And today I'm with Christian Stredicke of Vodia. Christian, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is an auspicious occasion. We are marking the 10th anniversary of Vodia as a company. Congratulations, that is quite an achievement. And that's what our podcast is going to be about, marking the path from 2012 to 2022. Quite an evolution. Lots of interesting things along the way, not to mention a pandemic and hybrid work and a whole bunch of things. But Christian, let's start sort of at the beginning, and even before that, what briefly is Vodia? What are you today?
Yeah, we are a manufacturer of software for the telephone system. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
So you develop software to help make phone systems run.
Yes. So I mean, they're not falling from the sky. Somebody has to do it. So we're sitting here developing like the server software, but increasingly also the client software.
Now, what made you guys started 10 years ago? What was the vision? Has it changed, or is it still the same?
Yeah, actually, we started even before that. The history goes back to a company called PBX and SIP when we were in love with the SIP protocol. So we had to have that in the name. And we already started working on the PBX topic before that. And essentially 10 years ago, there was a point when we spun off again as a separate company. And I think that was a time when the industry was changing more to the recurring revenue model, first of all. I think that was clearly happening. And the other thing was that we were also seeing that the SIP protocol might get a little bit out of fashion, so we couldn't use that name anymore. So we're using a different name, Vodia, which has nothing like SIP in it, to also demonstrate that.
So in other words, you went from basically a vision based on a technology to a broader vision, it sounds like, based on what you wanted to achieve with the technology, even as the technology changes.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely happy that the market did the next step forward. I would have wished it would have happened faster, but I think in the telecom industry, things are sometimes a little bit slower. So anyway, but we saw that it's a good time to start a company that offers a different kind of mix in this telecommunication space. So we're focusing more on the backend software, on the server software, and the clients. Let's say 10 years ago, the clients were still playing a big role as a desktop phone. So there were lots of desktop phones already available. We were compatible to them. But I think 10 years ago, it was also becoming clear that the browser will also take more and more space, and also the apps on the mobile phones will become more and more important. So, and I think it made sense to do that in a company that entirely focus on that topic and not just being a part of another company that has essentially revenue come from other areas.
Now, who are your customers today?
So our customers are mostly MSPs. So they operate our software for their clients. And that is essentially like most of it. We still have a few clients who operate the software on their own. So some people still want to have it on premise, but that's clearly becoming an exception. Most of our partners offer that as a service for their clients, kind of reducing complexity to run it for them, so that the clients can focus on what they're doing best, and then our MSPs partners, they just take that out of their to-do list.
Now, you mentioned mobility, and mobility was on the radar in 2012. We did have iPhones and texting and so on, but it sounds like you're telling me that's more important now than it was then.
Yeah, the vision was there. However, if you think about iOS 13 was essentially the turning point when that became possible. Before iOS 13, everybody was kind of tinkering with it, trying to get it working somehow. But then Apple make for us, a pretty dramatic change that they offered the ability to have multiple voice applications running at the same time. So there is the good old telephone system voice application that still every cell phone has. But there were more and more other applications coming up, like Skype and WhatsApp. So users are using multiple apps for making voice and video calls. And the telephone system is essentially just becoming one of those apps. And that was a vision 10 years ago, but today it's a reality. So the technology is 100% there. And people are able to use that more and more, and we see it happening more and more. However, we're not there 100% yet. We're still talking about probably a couple of years more to go down before really this has become a super widestream adopted reality.
So Christian, from the beginning, it sounds like Vodia had a broad and long-term vision that the world almost caught up to. In other words, you guys maybe didn't see everything coming, but you did see a lot of change.
Yeah, of course, we try to estimate what's going to happen a couple of years down the road. I think one aha moment was when somebody talked about WebRTC. And essentially the idea is that the web browser has killed so many industries already. If you think about CRM systems, you think about many dedicated programs that we were running on your PC before, and it has all moved into the browser. And telephony was always something that was a little bit behind, but the WebRTC suddenly make that possible, right? And so now today we see like apps that entirely run in the browser. You have like all these social networks and social this and that, and they all have some kind of way of real-time communications built into their browser front end. So that has become a reality. And this is also happening for the telephone system now. So essentially you can use your telephone system also just from the browser. And I think that's very cool. And that's something I think like unstoppable. And we were jumping on that train pretty early. And I'm obviously very happy that we did that, because now is the time when it's becoming a reality and we're just part of that.
Now, part of that journey is your partners, your MSP partners. So that's often a hard group to manage because, they get used to selling the way they sell. So how have you helped your partner companies sort of move on with the times and make sure the products they're selling are unique and so on?
I think one key word is patience, because success doesn't come overnight. I mean, success in the MSP space takes a lot of time and experience and building up the team and everything. And the other thing, of course, is listening, because it's a mistake to be ignorant about what's going on in the market. So we definitely always listen on what their customers need, what are the market requirements. And it's not always convenient, right? But I think it's very important to listen and see what can be done and what can we do to better fulfill the requirements that our partners see in the market.
And then into our world of somewhat predictable change came a pandemic. So what happened to Vodia during the pandemic?
Yeah, so we were, well, first of all, Boston was also like pretty much in the middle of it. So like personally, we got hit like everybody else, suddenly go at home. I mean, we tried to promote the working from home and work from anywhere for a long time, even longer than 10 years. And so, of course, for us, that was suddenly a huge tailwind, because people were forced to work from home. We didn't have to convince anybody. There was practically no more choice. And then people were scrambling to get something working, anything working. And it was good that we prepared for that by having, for example, like cell phone forking, or having the apps more or less working. So it was definitely for us, from a business point of view, a tailwind. And I wouldn't say we were happy about the pandemic, but it was like for us as a business, something that helped promoting our vision that people should be able to work from anywhere.
A lot of people said it sped things up, that in other words, the trend was already towards hybrid. We weren't even calling it that maybe, but people were actually doing that, and now it maybe has crystallized.
Yes, I think the complication was that also the IT administrators had to work from home, and so there was no migration possible overnight. I think the understanding was there overnight, but you cannot just switch your phone system from one day to another, especially when the whole company is going on remote work. So that was a lot of trouble, and I think it's still going on. I think still a lot of companies realize that they really have to offer the work from anywhere, also with their phone system. I think it was good for the classical video conferencing companies because they could roll this out practically overnight. But the PBX, the telephone system, that took a little bit longer.
So, before we move on to the next part of the Vodia chapter, right behind you for our video watchers, there's a little bit of traffic. Where are you located?
Yeah, we're here in Burlington, Massachusetts. I think it's kind of historical from the 90s. I think a lot of IT stuff has happened here. Anyway, the building looked pretty new to me, so probably some bulldozers that their work here. But I think we're in a good neighborhood regarding technology. There's a lot of well-known technology companies in the area, and we really love that.
Now, were you guys there the whole time?
We did a little bit of a lockdown. However, I have to say the team mostly prefer to work from the office. Hard to say. I mean, some people have personal reasons, but maybe it's just like the personal touch is still something that we value a lot. We do have a lot of beautiful restaurants around here. It's something which is missing at home.
So, and over the decade that's come and gone with you guys there, it seems to me that probably a lot of companies came and went, even including big companies.
Yes, actually, the reason why we even picked the whole area was there was a list of the top 100 VoIP companies, and I counted them, and there were like 40 or 50 in the area already, and I'm saying this is where we have to go. Okay, that's a long time ago, but there was a lot of turnover, obviously. But still, I would say that Boston is an area where voice over IP has deep roots, and a lot of companies in the area.
So, Christian, what does the next 10 years look like for Vodia and also for all of us?
Yeah, so I can't come up with some big breaking news vision. I think it will keep going on the direction we're going right now. I think the app's definitely going to play more and more steadily more role. I would say people today move mostly to the PCs, but I think that the next couple of years it will really go to the mobile phones. I think that's the trend, and underneath, I think WebRTC is going to kill it, especially between the phone system and the client. Interesting questions. What's going to happen to SIP trunking? Will SIP trunking continue like this, or will there be anything like WebRTC trunking? Right? How this world's going to look like? Is there anything like can we peer into the big ecosystems like Microsoft Teams or maybe WhatsApp? So is there any interoperability coming around the corner? That would be very interesting. We obviously would love it. But I think that these are the topics that's going to keep us busy for the next 10 years.
So that's interesting. We started talking about PBX and SIP, and we're ending talking about SMS and text and other things, WhatsApp. The nature of communications is changing, but it sounds like for people that are partnering with Vodia, you are helping them keep up with the changes and stay ahead too.
Of course, that's our job. So we want to be first of all, we want to be living into today. So we need to see what people are using today and deliver today. At the same time, we want to look into the future and saying what trends are coming up, what we need to take a look at. Of course, sometimes we're wrong, right? We're expecting, okay, maybe people will do this, but they don't. But we're trying to be right, well, most of the time, at least with the important times. And anyway, that's, I think, the interesting part of being in the industry. The VoIP industry was always a very open-minded and friendly industry, talking about like personal relationships. I really enjoyed that last 10 years and the years before. And I hope we're going to keep it that way.
And that's really, coming back all the way to the human challenge, right? That you said earlier about patience, that you need to have your partners have something to sell today that they're comfortable
Yes.
selling, but you also need to patiently goad and coax people to keep their eye on selling future products.
Yeah. So that's why this feedback is so important. We're not really directly in touch with the end customers. So it's important to have this kind of feedback loop and hear what they would like to see, and then get that back to us. So I try to visit like a couple of partners every year or so, and sit down with them and just chat how they see it, and it's usually very interesting. And then when I come back and saying, oh gosh, we had to do this and this and this, right, and we got to get busy again. So, but anyway, I think it's very nice. I enjoyed a lot, and that's why if we maybe have another interview in 10 years, well, I hope I can still say it was a very interesting time.
Well, I certainly hope we have more interviews between now and 10 years from now. But I know Vodia is probably going to be very successful over the next decade. So I want to congratulate you on an excellent
Thank
10
you.
years and also for all the contributions you've made to your partners and to the community. Christian, where can we learn more about Vodia?
Well, we got web.vodia.com. That's our website. And well, just use the search engine of your favorite search engine to find stuff about us.
Well, I'm looking forward to our next podcast. Not 10, I hope it's not more than 10 months, 10 weeks from now, not 10
Yeah.
years. So I'm
Okay.
going to see you at some conferences. We're going to, I know, have a very exciting year with Vodia and all the things that will be coming up. But for now, Christian, congratulations again. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.